Hello again, traveler. The roads can be dangerous, and none learn that lesson more harshly than a bright young rider named Hemmingway and his beloved horse, Miss Penny. In a small town surrounded by fields and woodland, they were both well loved. They would perform tricks for the children in the street, and Hemmingway would let them feed Miss Penny apples. They would run errands for the elderly or those who lived outside of town. The thankful townsfolk would often give the two gifts, and that is how Miss Penny received her lovely blue hand-woven scarf she often had around her neck. The two enjoyed the simple things and each other's company, never setting off on any adventures per se, instead preferring to watch the sunset from a hill after a day of riding the roads around their town before retiring. Then, one fateful afternoon, Hemmingway had been asked to carry an important package to the nearby city. Said package quickly became the focus of rumor about how valuable its contents may be, and rumors run faster than any horse, even Miss Penny. It did seem strange when a figure with a hooded face and red sash stood silently in the road ahead, but Hemmingway did not pause until they raised a hand and commanded our rider to stop.
Go no further, and hand over what you carry. And you may leave here alive.
I'm afraid what I carry is not mine to give. Now stand aside, so I may pass.
I'm taking it. Don't be a hero and try to stop me. You'll just get hurt.
Hemmingway nudged Miss Penny and braced to pick up speed. Once I jump you, you'll have no chance of catching us. Miss Penny stepped forward with confidence, her body leaning forward to accelerate, when a snapping sound broke the tense moment. Within a blink, the log trap whished through the air directly at our horse and rider, and too quickly for either to dodge the impact. He and Miss Penny hit the ground. Hemmingway desperately clung to consciousness. The trap had bashed into Hemmingway's jaw, severely dislocating it, and he could feel that teeth had been knocked out. Beyond his own labored breathing, he could hear Miss Penny screaming, writhing on top of his now shattered leg, crushed when Miss Penny fell on top. Hemmingway let out a wail, not for his broken leg, but for Miss Penny, when he saw the trap had sliced a long and deep wound along the side of his beloved horse. It was obvious she was starting to fade. Hemmingway felt a tug and looked up. The red-sashed bandit was lifting the satchel from him. He reached a shaky hand to take his bag back, but couldn't keep his grip when the bandit kicked him, causing the blackness to surge on the edges of his vision once again.
Should have done things my way.
The thief left through the woods, leaving the dying horse and rider in the ditch beside the path. Hemmingway knew he couldn't move Miss Penny. She had stopped struggling and her breathing had slowed considerably. He felt his own body becoming sluggish, and as he slumped back onto the ground, he looked toward the hill and noticed the other bag. Joy surged through his veins as Hemmingway realized the thief had mistakenly taken his personal bag, with his book and a few apples for Miss Penny. The bag left behind was the one he was to deliver, given to him by a local man who was skilled in potions and magic. But this bag had fallen far away from him, and Hemmingway's shattered leg remained stuck beneath Miss Penny. Still, hope brought new energy to Hemmingway as he pulled himself in agony, bones crunching, his foot barely attached, what was left of his jaw hanging from one side within the purse of flesh that was his face. After long and painful moments, he managed to drag himself out from underneath his favorite companion with shooting, stabbing pain, just a few inches more towards the bag, and opened it. Please, let there be a healing potion. Searching the pack, blood and sweat from his forehead dripped into his eyes, but his fingers touched upon familiar enough rounded glass. Hemmingway pulled out a glass sphere full of a gray and red substance. If it was a potion, there was no neck, and while trying to hold it up to get a look at what was inside, it slipped from our rider's bloody fingers and smashed upon the ground where he and Miss Penny lay. Hemmingway shook his head, determined to go back into the bag and find another potion. We're almost there, Miss Penny. But when he turned back to Miss Penny, it was too late. She was dead. The horror sank in, and Hemmingway began to hyperventilate and sob, stopping only when he heard a faint whisper on the breeze. He looked toward the broken sphere and saw the rust-colored substance moving on its own, sliding towards the exposed wounds of Miss Penny. The horse gasped alive as the crawling sand reached the mortal wound, and seemed to relax as it seeped deeper inside. Hemmingway patted Miss Penny. There, girl. It's going to be all right. As he comforted his horse, he noticed the red sand also upon him, moving towards his face and leg. He did not panic until it touched his wound, and he felt how cold and sharp the living sand was. Hemmingway took a breath to scream, but the dust funneled into his open mouth before any sound could be heard. Late that night, a man with a red sash sat in his house by a fireplace. The wind had grown cold, despite the season, when there came a sound like hooves towards his door. He pauses, and after a moment of silence, his door is kicked in, exploding into splinters. Before him stands a horse and rider, much like a pair he had encountered earlier in the day, but this pair was darker and more monstrous. The horse now had a mouth full of mismatched teeth carved down its side, and bone exposed through worn and tattered flesh. The rider's face was wrapped in a bloody blue scarf, eyes like embers. While his neighbors may have heard the screams of the man in the red sash, no one dared check to see the cause until the next morning. Very little was left of the man, and a trail of strange hoofprints was found leading back into the woods.